Is the baseball field flat? Theory, baseball has dynamic topography. Well, sure, baseball is flat. Quite a lot of work goes into making a baseball field flat. If you were to look under the grass, there's different levels of imported materials designed to support the field in its flatness, to drain the field, and make sure it stays flat. Okay, we're not talking about the pitcher's mound, which has an altitude of 10 inches. We'll just put that aside. We're talking about the rise and fall of the baseball topography in terms of imagination. Baseball is not part of inhuman creation. It's not part of, it's not a mountain, it's not a valley. It's a game. It exists in the imagination with rules that we invented. So my sense of topography here measures an altitude of value, significance, and feeling. And I argue it's part of what we can enjoy about the game. Why we care. Some details that support our caring about what goes on in a baseball game. So here's some game pieces. Maybe they will be helpful. If I roll snake eyes, I'll give you $1 million. Well, looks like you're going to have to give me $1 million. Okay. So let's just put them aside. These are the outs. Batter, home plate. Now, casually, maybe without really thinking about it, I would have said without much analysis that home plate would have the highest topography in baseball field. No, I would argue now that home plate actually has the least value. Now imagine a knight on a quest. Home plate is inside the castle before the knight leaves, and when the knight returns, if the knight returns successfully on the quest, back in the castle again. It is not the quest itself. So what goes on in the castle may be interesting, but the quest is more interesting. So that's an analogy I like to use to help you understand why I say home plate is actually the lowest level in the baseball field topography. The duel between the batter and the pitcher is a fascinating story in itself, and there's a lot to it, but that is separate from the baseball topography that I'm discussing. That's its own separate story. Once you leave home plate, if by whatever method the batter gets from home plate to first base, all of a sudden you can start from a lower level of potentiality to a high level of potentiality. You've got to cross this barrier. The barrier between here and here is greater than any part of the rest of the diamond. Okay, so now let's talk about these three bases. First base. Well, all of a sudden the defense has to take the runner into account. If the runner's not there, defense can set up however they please, as best they expect to field the batter's hit. But now you got a runner, all of a sudden you got to worry about defending from a steal. And also, not just that, you also want to try to set up a double play. So there are multiple tensions into where you decide as defense where you want your guys to stand, and that can impede how they field where they stand, strategically able to anticipate where the batter hits the ball. Now if the runner is going to steal, then all of a sudden first baseman has to come in to get ready to tag him, and also the pitcher may want to do a pitch out to the catcher to catch him off base really fast but all of a sudden errors started happening that could not have happened unless the guy was on first base. It's a big deal, and that's why I argue that first base is the highest level of baseball topography. It's way up here. So you go from down here up to that second level, and it's at the highest point of the second level. There's another point to first base in that if you got 2 outs and the batter hits the ball, if the batter can get to first base, that's one of the requirements for a run to count if that play somehow leads to the third out in some other manner. Now let's talk about second base. Second base is significant because, well, sure, you got the threat to steal third base, and I used to think that was only something rarely happened against lefty pitchers, but I saw so many last year, and even in this young season I've seen it, so I think that it's more of a significant potential threat to defense than I had previously thought. So not only is a runner on second base a threat to steal, but also they're looking at the pitcher, and the pitcher's holding the ball some manner, and maybe you could see where the stitching is in relation to the fingers, and that's all clues to what kind of pitch is going to happen. And so the pitcher's got to hide his hand in the glove in a certain way, and you sometimes see they're moving their glove because sometimes you can discern what kind of grip it is just by the shape the hand makes in the glove. This guy's a spy, and you can also see the catcher's signal, and this often makes defense really mad, and you can have a subsequent beanball going on to punish him for stealing the signs. But aside from all that, it's making people nervous in defense. Just the fact that he's there, he has to look over his shoulder, it's a little awkward. He doesn't have eyes in the back of his head, and again, the defense has to move around to anticipate what he's going to do, and also where the batter is going to hit. So I think that the second base, not as significant as first base, but still pretty significant. Following that is third base. I think it's the least significant in terms of topology of the 3 bases besides home plate, but you are obviously closest to home plate. And I was at a Dodgers game recently, and oh my gosh, the runner was practically halfway down, and I guess they were anticipating, defense had something else in mind, but they weren't really covering third base, and you could tell it's a very tense situation, but it doesn't quite have the same impact as second base or first base. Now let me construct a little diagram of what I mean by the topology. See if I can make it 3D. We have these high technology here. Alright. Home, first, second base, third. So I'm giving first base 4 units of topology. Baseball field topology, I'm giving second base 2 units. I am not sure if this is going to show, or even if I can do this without it all falling apart. Let's keep trying. Third base, 1 unit of topology. And home plate, 0 units of topology. So here's my theory of what the baseball topology looks like as a 3-dimensional object. Roughly speaking, I hope you can get the idea. It's way uphill to first base. It's slightly down to second base, but still quite higher than home plate, and a little less so. these bases being scoring position, you just sort of want to gently slide down to home plate. Making a little joke of it, but this is considered runners in scoring position. This is not. But anyway, let's take another look at it. Okay, everyone loves graphs, right? So let's use this lightning bolt for units of significance in this topology of significance. All right. Home plate, first, second, third, fourth. No, there's no fourth. That was a joke. Home plate again because it goes around. That's why I'm going to do it twice. I guess I should add a 0 here for clarity. 0 is the most important number. All right. Boom. All the way up to 4. 2 units of significance. 1 unit at third base and back to home. So that's my argument of baseball topology. Thank you.